You know, every Lent and every Advent, we have a tradition here at St. Malachy in giving those books, those wonderful Saginaw daily meditation books that we use. So you get a daily reading for the Lenten season and a daily reading for the Advent season. And they often give you a suggestion, you know, what to do on that day, something to put your faith into action. Well, this past Lent, I'm doing the book, and this particular day, it was all about being thankful. And the action that they recommended was, if there was someone in your life that inspired you in what you are doing, in my case, planning to be a priest, if there was someone who inspired you, then give them a call and thank them. And so I thought about that, and I prayed about that, and I decided to call Father Richard Cassidy. Father Richard Cassidy was one of my morality professors at St. John's Seminary, and he's the only professor I had from way back then that's still teaching. He's at Sacred Heart. And so I gave him a call. He was very surprised. And I said, I want to thank you for being an inspiration to me for being a priest. Well, he said, well, I'm flattered, but what did I do to inspire you? Because he's trying to think what it was. And I said, what it was, Father, I said, is because you were always upbeat and positive. Your classes were upbeat. If you've ever had a morality class or an ethics class, it can get very down fast. To have a guy with an upbeat attitude and a positive attitude, and he always had one, was an inspiration to me. And we began to talk about that. And I'm saying, I bet, well, by then we're priests now, so I'm calling him by his first name. I said, well, you know, Rick, I bet you there were times you weren't all that upbeat coming into that classroom. Just like sometimes I'm not all that upbeat coming to say Mass. But I know I got to do it because the job is to joyfully proclaim the gospel. And he said, that's true. There were times going in the classroom, the last thing I wanted to do was to be upbeat and happy at all, but I realized that I'm called to something greater. And I said, that was an inspiration to me and has helped me in my priesthood. And thank you, I said to him. Well, today's second reading to St. Paul to the Philippians is, if you take it as a whole, one big thank you letter. You must understand that St. Paul, most of his letters, he wrote in response to questions. You know, people would, this problem or that problem, and they would write letters to Paul, because Paul had founded all these communities. Then he appointed, bishops and priests, and then he would move on to another place to proclaim the gospel and form another community. Well, everything's brand new. People have questions. They'd write him the questions. He'd write them back the answers. That's what most of his letters are. They're responses to questions. But not the Philippians. The Philippians basically is a big thank you because of all the communities he had. The Philippians sent support wherever Paul was. When Paul was sitting in jail for 2 years in Ephesus, the Philippians sent food, and people would come down to visit. And then when he was in Rome in house arrest for two years, Philippians would send money so he could buy his food. They cared about him. In fact, if you took St. Paul aside and no one else was listening, and you had a few beers, he'd probably, and if you asked him, which one of all those communities you wrote to was your favorite, he'd probably say, well, it's the Philippians, of course, but I can't, but I love them all. And it's true to be thankful. And so the message for today is, think about people who've been inspiration to you, who have helped you get where you are in life. It might be a teacher. It might be a coach. It might be a supervisor. It might be a co-worker. It might be a relation. It could be a parent or a grandparent or other relation. It could be somebody connected in your life that has inspired you in some way. And if they're still with us, give them a call and say thank you. They might be very surprised by that, but it's a lesson to all of us in that how we live our lives joyfully proclaiming the gospel to one another, the more that joy of the gospel grows and the gospel and the will of God is achieved.